Hello once again. This is week 4 video for the writing assignment and rubric. And I will just go through the questions as they were posed in the assignment. So question number 1 was, what is my learning target? And my learning target is students will compile explanations of the angle, side angle, side angle, side, and side, side, side congruence postulates based on application of knowledge of congruent triangles in terms of rigid motions. And this comes from the Common Core standard for math content of congruence in the high school geometry section, in particular B8 is the standard. So what information will my students already know? They will have already completed the previous week's assignments in learning the definitions of congruent triangles along with the 3 stated postulates and rigid motions. And so this learning target is really about a final assessment and the end of that unit. So to make this assessment, I have my word problem here, and I will try to get it here focused. Okay, this writing assignment is the final assessment for the congruence unit. You will have the entire class period to complete it. Compile into a 1 to 2 page essay on an explanation of how the definition of congruent triangles in terms of rigid motions to support each of the following 3 postulates for congruent triangles: SAS, ASA, and SSS. Then consider the following problem. 2 companies, A and B, make roof trusses for houses. A general contractor specifies the following for the new home he is building. The trusses must extend long enough to clear the walls, which are 16 feet apart. The trusses must have a base angle of 30 degrees. The truss's non-horizontal leg must be 10 feet in length. 2 different drawings, shown here, were submitted for consideration. So the 2 questions are, from what you understand about congruent triangles, why are the 2 designs not the same? Which would you prefer? Justify your answer. So that's my problem. Writing to me is the best way to assess this particular area of geometry because you really don't have a lot of numbers to crunch. And rewriting the proofs is just a regurgitation of the knowledge that was handed out in class. So to really see if they have understood these postulates and understand how triangles are really congruent, you need them to be able to put it into their own words. And so writing is the best way to assess if they understand the principles that were previously explained. And so my operative verb is compile. And why do I use this word? In mathematics, it's all about compilation of information and then making sense of it. Otherwise, numbers are just numbers that may or may not have meaning. People have a hard time understanding what the point of numbers is. So one must be able to translate numbers into graphs or words that a non-mathematician can understand, which reinforces the ability to communicate. So how do you go about compiling? To compile, one must review the pertinent information and then extract out the pertinent information you are trying to convey. So you have some information, you have to go in, figure out which information you really want, and then put that into words such that others can understand. So now to my rubric on how I would grade this essay, and that's here behind me. So first I would have my 4 areas, which are focus, clarity, reasoning, and conventions. So on focus, I'm writing stays on topic and completely addresses the prompt, or exceeds expectations. For meeting expectations, stays mostly on topic and adequately addresses the prompt. Approaching standards, writing strays from the topic and does not address the entire prompt. And below standards, writing is not on topic and does not address the prompt. For clarity, sentences are well thought out, and able to clearly convey a deep understanding of the concepts involved. Sentences are clear and convey adequate understanding of the concepts involved for meeting standards. For a 2, sentences are not always clear and convey superficial understanding of the concepts involved. And then a 1 would be sentences are not clear and convey a lack of understanding of the concepts involved. For reasoning, a 4 would be writing demonstrates thorough logical reasoning to explain the concepts. A 3 gets you to have adequate logical reasoning. A 2 demonstrates some logical reasoning, whereas a 1 doesn't just demonstrate any at all. On conventions, once again, we need to be able to read it. So the grammar, the punctuation, capitalization does not distract. For a 3, there may be some errors, but still does not distract. For a 2, it begins to distract, and number 1 is completely distracting and you can't understand it. So that's my rubric, and as I envision this being an assessment, a final unit assessment, that's where it stands, is that it would be graded as such, and then I would be the one providing mainly the feedback for them on where they are and where I might need to focus my attention in the classroom on reviewing for the next subject, because they need to understand this before we get to the more complex shapes and concept of similarity versus just congruence. And that's my video. Thanks.